Hello, welcome to micro lesson video 2, where we will be going through financial budgeting worksheets 4 to 6. Before we begin, do ensure that your personal budgeting handbook is with you for easy reference through the lesson for a fruitful learning. So these are the things that we will be covering in micro video 2. And in worksheet 4, we will be covering monthly income and expense statement, which will include income, salary, fixed and variable expenses, and calculating your surplus or deficit. So let's start with worksheet 4. In worksheet 4, you will compute your monthly income and expense statement and find out if you're a spender or saver through this. Watch this video to learn more about the difference between a spender and a saver. Starting with the income section in worksheet 4, write the amount you earn per month in this box here and bring the same amount to subtotal J. Next, the expenses section has many different types of expenses, and they are all split into needs and wants, just like worksheet 3. For a recap, your needs are the things important to you that you must have and cannot live without. Your wants are things that are less important to you that you don't need as much. In worksheet 3, your expense items have all been grouped into different types of expenses, so you may just fill them up accordingly to the different types, and also whether if it is a need or a want. So if you don't spend any money on any of these expenses, you may just leave them blank. Add up all the values in these boxes and bring the number to subtotal K. Under variable expenses, there are different types of expenses types, so you do the same for variable expenses too. Remember to multiply certain weekly amounts by 4 to get your monthly spending amount. This is because 1 month has 4 weeks. In worksheet 3, we calculated your weekly spending amounts. But now, we're looking at your monthly spendings. Only multiply the amount by 4 if it is an expense item you spend every week on. If it is a one-time expense, you should just write the full amount in your monthly statement. For example, for food, in worksheet 3, if you have written that you spent maybe $3.50 on a plate of chicken rice, you have to multiply $3.50 by 4 to get your monthly amount. However, for things like maybe leisure and entertainment, if you have only been to the KTV once a month, you may just write the full amount in the monthly statement. So do the same for the rest of the expense types. And after you're done, for variable expenses, add up all the numbers here and bring them to subtotal L. Lastly, we will have to calculate if it is a surplus or a deficit. So, a surplus is where you still have money left after spending your money on things. Deficit is where you spend too much and use up all your salary, meaning you have no money left. To calculate that, use the amount of money you have written for your income here, subtotal J, and minus your two expenses, subtotal K and subtotal L. So there, you will be able to find out if it is a surplus or a deficit. That's all for worksheet 4. Thank you.
Worksheet 5, we will help you to create your savings action plan to manage your wants as identified in Worksheet 3. To start off, you can review the expenses that you have spent in Worksheet 4 that were not necessary, mainly your wants. Aside from these expenses, you can also think of ways to increase your income to improve your financial position. For example, you can sell Indonesian food to your neighbors to earn a profit, as shown in the yellow highlighted boxes. You can then list down these expenses or income in the table below, and be specific about your idea and the action plans to be taken. Do also include the date in which you would like to start. keeping in mind that the earlier you start saving, the more money you will accumulate from your savings. In the last column, you can include an estimated amount of additional savings per month from this savings action plan. Here is an example of how a savings action plan looks like. You may pause the video here and fill in the table. Finally, you may add up all the additional savings per month in the blue box as seen below. This value indicates the estimated additional savings per month when you cut down on the various expenses. If you are still unsure of how to do the savings action plan, you may ask us during our lessons.
Next, we will be looking at your personal monthly budget. A budget is a spending plan in which a fixed amount is allocated for different spending needs and is useful for monitoring expenses. In Worksheet 6, we will be looking at your existing monthly income and expenses and the revised monthly income and expenses. This will allow you to review and evaluate the effects and importance of the savings plan in Worksheet 5. You may copy the existing income and expenses from Worksheet 4 and fill in the savings portion from Worksheet 1 into both columns. Now, we will be looking at the revised budget, which is your existing budget after considering your savings action plan. Firstly, include the income that you are sure of in this column. For expenses, they are similar to Worksheet 4 and are split into fixed expenses and variable expenses. You may copy those items that were not affected by your savings plan over to your revised budget, but adjust those that were affected. For example, your food expenses are reduced. And with that, your revised budget should look something like this. Lastly, take the income and subtract the expenses and write the amount in this box. If you have a surplus, it will be an opportunity to pay off a debt or to add this to your savings. This means that you will be able to achieve your financial goals faster. However, if you have a deficit, you will have to make adjustments to make your budget sustainable. It may be because the goals you have set in Worksheet 1 is unrealistic, or you may have overspent. You can consider increasing the time period to achieve your goals, or review Worksheet 5 to look for more opportunities to increase your income or reduce expenses. If you are worried about not having enough money, you may want to watch the Pay Yourself First video for some helpful tips. To sum up today's lesson, we have better understood your personal monthly income and expenses, and we have adjusted your income and expenses. You can see that after adjusting, you have more surplus or a lesser deficit than Worksheet 5. We also learned how to solve the problems of having a deficit by setting realistic goals. With that, we have come to the end of today's lesson. See you in the next lesson.